Good morning and welcome to this very special webinar talking about Windows 7 and the fact that support is soon coming to an end and the importance of migrating to Windows 10. I'm Tim Danton, Editor-in-Chief of PC Pro, and with me today I have an esteemed panel. I'm going to go through them one by one. I'm going to start off with you, Christian, you are in charge of you're in charge of commercial notebooks, etc. for Microsoft, and working particularly with HP. Could you just go through the changes that are happening and why companies need to be alert?
Good morning, first of all. So on January 14, 2020, Microsoft will end the support of Windows 7. So this means Microsoft will no longer release security update to end customer, and also the technical support will phase out. So it's fundamental that from small to large enterprise customer to build a good plan to migrate to Windows 10 before this date. So it's 13 months to go, and we are here to talk how, together with HP, we can work the customer.
Yes, so this is screaming along fast, this deadline, so people really need to start thinking about it. And Mike, you're at the harsh end of this. So you're Business Category Manager for Business PCs, rather, HP.
I am.
And have been for several years. So how is HP working with customers to help them with this migration?
Good morning, Tim. So from a HP perspective, we look at it in two ways. So we're looking at the big customers, where we have technical consultants that are going in and walking that through with our biggest customers. The account managers that work with those customers can lead them through that path. And then for the smaller customers, we're working with our channel partners. So our channel partners have great relationships with their customers, and behind them we sit and we help as much as we can. We also have for those smaller customers, great trade-in programs where they can trade in their old Windows 7 PCs for new Windows 10 PCs.
Excellent. And finally, I have with us Robert. Now, Robert, you actually run a company that specialises in supporting companies who are going through this process. You've been at the thick end of it. And in particular, you just recently helped a 260-seat company migrate from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So what does this mean for those kind of companies? Why do they need to act now?
Why they need to act now and what it means are almost two separate questions. Why they need to act now, as Christian said, we have 11, 12 months left. If you do 1 hour a week, you've got maybe 60 hours in which to plan. That's not enough. On average, an SME takes around 6 to 7 months minimum, usually more like a year, to prepare itself to transition from one operating system to another. You've got an awful lot of seats to worry about. You've got an awful lot of infrastructure, servers to worry about, to integrate and make it work. You can't do that on 60 hours.
Okay, so if you assume it's all going to be plain sailing, as we will cover later in this webinar, then things could go badly wrong.
Fatally wrong.
Fatally wrong. Okay, well, with that worrying thought, we'll move on to the next main question. So, Christian, what are people's options right now?
So if a large or even small customer have a Windows 7 PC, of course, this PC can be upgraded to Windows 10 as long as you have software assurance, which is our license to enable customer move from Windows 7 to Windows 10. And there are two options. The first one is wipe and reload, and so means you lose all the data on the PC and you install the fresh new image on Windows 10. And this is the one that takes most of the time, but probably deliver the best experience. Or you can have in-place upgrade, where you leave the data on the PC and you upgrade Windows 10 OS. So these are the two options when you want to reuse old machine on Windows 10. However, we are here mainly to explain that Windows 10 for us is mainly about modern and new hardware, because with the last 5 years, but I will say in the last couple of years, the technology that from an hardware and software point of view we've been able to deliver is so great that actually the old PC cannot leverage. So, and HP have done a fantastic job from a security point of view to complement all our security stack extremely well, but you need a brand new PC, not an old PC to run it.
Well, that's an excellent point, and actually that brings me to you, Mike, because what particularly does HP see as the advantages of switching to new hardware?
So, I mean, a PC running Windows 7 is typically a 4-year-old PC now. So for the bigger companies, that's within their life cycle to actually move on. So what you've got compared between now and a PC that's 4 years old is obviously it's lighter, it's thinner. The PCs have moved on, so they're a lot better looking, or more aesthetically pleasing for the buzzword millennials. But also it's the security stuff that comes with that. So I mean, the three main aspects from HP is the first one is SureView, which is an integrated display filter, which I know you've used yourself.
Well, yes, I think you know I do love that a little bit. So it's a brilliant idea. You just press a button and it turns from being something that everyone can see who's sitting next to you to being virtually invisible. Yeah, so
it's all around visual hacking. So if you're in a coffee shop and someone is looking over your shoulder at a PC, and the ability to be able to stop that from happening. One thing that we've worked hand in hand with Microsoft for a long time on is multi-factor authentication. So having just a simple password is, it's not as good anymore. It doesn't, it's not as great with company policies and just having that one password. So between ourselves and Microsoft, we put in those 3-factor of authentication that you can have if you're using the right CPUs. And also we have Sure Start, which is a BIOS security message, which really does help when it comes to migrating that security meshes to Windows 10.
Yes, and then that's self-healing, isn't it?
Yes, a self-healing BIOS.
Yeah. All right, and so finally, Robert, I'll just turn to you for this question. Really, in terms of what you've seen companies do, have you seen them stick with existing hardware and things go wrong? And what's happened when they've gone to new hardware?
Both sides of that I've seen. Existing hardware people try to stick, either by sticking to Windows 7 or by in-place upgrades, neither of which are entirely successful for the reasons that Mike's already outlined. Essentially, that the hardware platforms deliver better capabilities today. Amongst the things that they deliver, which Mike didn't mention but is actually true, is better energy efficiency and better battery life. Far better. So you can cut your in-place costs down quite considerably by switching. Where people switch, they tend to switch because it fits their accounting cycles. And this is a problem because the old style approach to 3 or 4 year accounting cycles no longer makes any sense.
Because?
But partly because of software rental. Microsoft's Office rental is one instance thereof. And in effect, today, you're getting operating system rental. It may seem like a CapEx, but it isn't, not anymore.
And so, on balance, do you think that people are happier moving to new hardware or sticking with old hardware?
I think they're happier moving to new, but sometimes you have problems, and this is an issue for staffing of training, because the hardware is dramatically different. They're used to most people, if they're over 30, are used to a desktop, a conventional old-fashioned desktop with a big heavy monitor, etc. Suddenly we're starting to work with the kind of tools that you're holding in your hand.
Yes.
And this requires a mind shift.
Okay, so that's what people have to think about. It's not a simple upgrade. This involves much planning
and people.
And people, yes, never forget the people. People are often the threats inside a business as well, which is our next topic, because this is, and I'll start with you, Mike. The cyber threat is here, and it's affecting companies. How are you seeing that at HP?
It's here, and it's very much here. So, I mean, there's a lot of scaremongering going on around cyber attacks and cyber threats. But I mean, one of the things that people need to just understand and realise is it's real. I mean, I'll use the stats from 2017, and I use that because we're not through this year, even though it does pretty much seem like we're there now. But in 2017, there was a new malware made in inception every 4.2 seconds. So the average SMB customer, so anyone around 500 seats or just below, anyone that was attacked by any type of cybercrime, the cost for them would be somewhere around the $1 million mark. So, and within those 12-month period, it went up 23%. And from all the stories that you're hearing at the moment, you know, it's only getting quicker, and it is the new biggest threat when it comes to theft and fraud.
And so that's why things like multi-factor protection are so important.
Yeah, key.
Because this is the new threat. It's coming to businesses.
Yeah.
All right. So from Microsoft point of view, so there'll be some people who are sitting out there cynical, saying, "I just want to stick with Windows 7. You know, I'm quite happy, thank you very much." What are the dangers for those customers?
So Windows 7, as I said, until January 14, 2020, is still a supported OS, so we will continue to release security updates. So the OS is secure as itself. However, you need to remember Windows 7 was built more than 10 years ago. Think about the threat that 10 years ago were there. For sure, we did some good update, but the real security comes with Windows 10. There is no brain. You can bring an old PC running Windows 7, upgrade it to Windows 10, and you get straight away security update and a new feature like Windows Defender, our antivirus solution, which is free for the customer. We bring Microsoft Edge. We bring Windows Hello, which leverages the hardware technology for biometric authentication. We bring Windows Information Protection, which enable to help the customer with the data, and the data is managed in the PC. However, as I said before, the real benefit comes with Windows 10 with the new hardware. New hardware can use the new technology of the BIOS that is called UEFI, and UEFI actually delivers virtualization-based security, and the virtualization-based security is the core of the next generation of security, and we build features like Credential Guard, Device Guard, that actually are key features that enable increasing the security from a threat point of view, from a data point of view, and actually all of these components are what are called pre-breach solution, which is sitting on the endpoint. However, from a Microsoft point of view, we are looking at security much more on a broader scale, and we are introducing features like advanced threat protection, which is the cloud-based security, which is nothing really to do with endpoint, because it's a cloud-based solution that monitor behavior from the PC, from the user, end-to-end, and enable large organization, but also small, because it's a feature available for everyone, to detect automatically and also remediate automatically when there are attacks, because now the scale is so big that an IT manager cannot manage and control the security with just looking at report. They need automation, artificial intelligence, and this is what advanced threat protection is done. All of this come on Windows 10. So this is why it's fundamental to secure the base of the endpoint on Windows 10 and then leverage all the technology feature that comes from us and from the ecosystem.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I mean, you said 10, 11 years ago, Windows 7. If you think about the companies that went around 10 or 11 years ago, when Windows 7 started, so Spotify, Uber, they weren't around 11 years ago. So there was a piece of there's malware out there called LoJack that wasn't around when Windows 7 was integrated, and it is it is a BIOS virus. It's going in there, going up through the BIOS. And as one thing I was going to add to the security stuff that Microsoft have is with the Sure Start self-healing BIOS. I mean, that is a good way to prevent the LoJack virus getting into your company.
Yes.
It's quite scary to think 11 years ago that these companies weren't around, and we're still talking about that OS now.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is designed to be a very interactive webinar. We'd love to have your questions. We're going to have a big Q&A session at the end. But I have got one question that's coming already that I think is great for you, Christian. So you say that Microsoft is calling time on Windows 7 and their support is ending soon. But haven't you already stopped making PCs and laptops that support Windows 7? I can't get them anymore, so I'm forced to move to Windows 10 immediately.
So that is true. So PC running PC running Windows 10 are out there since 3 years already. There are still options for customers to buy Windows 10 machine that can run Windows 7. Is down also to the Intel chipset support, which is a sort of combination of software and hardware. There are platforms that are still available. We are phasing out because the need to move to modern is from the ecosystem everywhere. So from the Intel and from the chipset, but also from the software. So we are really moving this. However, if you are a large customer and you have problem with the migration, I'm sure ourselves, Microsoft and HP together can give you a lot of help, and we can help you how you can leverage the current infrastructure to move that to Windows 10 and phase the migration completely in the next, hopefully, 13 months.
Okay. And actually, we've talked about all the threats, but isn't this really an opportunity for companies?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, who wants to walk around with a 4 to 5 year old PC?
No,
to be honest. I mean, for an example, so a mobile worker, someone that uses Windows 10, it has a mobile architecture now. It has great increased security. You know, it's thin and light. The real estate that you actually have to walk around with now is shrunk and is very, very thin and light. I mean, it is an opportunity. There are versions that where companies can start looking at as a device as a service model, as Robert has kind of touched on with the 365 angle, but also from a HP perspective. You know, we device as a service is a key part of a growth area in the UK. So it's an opportunity for companies to look at that and to shift the model away from buying PCs up front to a subscription as a monthly service.
We've also seen a change in how people work, haven't we? So remote working is now so important, and people talked about hot desking for ages, but actually now we're seeing it, aren't we? And is that changing how Microsoft is producing software?
For sure. We are in a big transformation moment, and we listen a lot to the customer feedback, and actually we try to make Windows 10 better every time we release a new software. Probably most of you are aware, every 6 months Microsoft releases a feature update. We just released one 2 months ago, and the reason why we do this is 2 reasons. First of all, we want to, every 6 months, increase the security. Security is the first reason why customers have already moved to Windows 10. So this is why we are very happy with the customers that are already 100% to Windows 10. However, we know not all of are still there. And the second point is about the importance moving Windows 10 now is because the time is ticking, and so the advantage that we are bringing with the new OS is actually we release a new feature that enable productivity teamwork. Touch is available on the PC since many years, but now with the software that come from Office 365, from PowerPoint to Excel, really enable the customer to have a completely different way of usage of the PC. Look, as you're using your tablet now, you would not be do the same a few years ago. So really, this is what the benefit that you already experienced, and there are many customers out that are still not there yet because they are not into the Windows 10 world yet.
And so, Robert, how do you see businesses actually embracing Windows 10 to actually help them as companies to be more productive?
I've already started to see it. Basically, forgive the metaphor, but Windows 10 is a gateway drug. It's the entrance into an ecosystem that is much, much bigger than just Windows 10 itself. We have a whole range of, some of them fairly amazing and some of them not quite so amazing, Microsoft software products, from Dynamics through Office 365 and Teams and so on, that allow businesses to refactor the way in which they operate. But the thing we need to recall is that Microsoft operating systems are the host for a vast ecosystem of other software, whether it's resource planning, enterprise resource planning software, whether it's asset management, whether it's facilities management, whether it's CAD/CAM software, it doesn't matter. There's a vast ecosystem that cannot function without Microsoft. It's that simple. But what Windows 10 starts to offer us is an opportunity to integrate across the silos, to actually use information and knowledge in ways that we've never thought of before.
And so can you think of a particular example of that?
Yes, I was talking with one of your colleagues earlier about exactly this. A young lady who 10 years ago was sales and marketing in legal firms. She went off, did a law degree, did exceptionally well, got herself admitted at the bar as well, and then went off and found herself some AI people at Silicon Roundabout and built a legal AI engine, which is now doing essentially NDAs and contract negotiation on a Windows platform. And it's marketing worldwide. In the last 3 years, she's won the Law Society Awards, she's won Bar Council Awards, she's won the same in the US and Canada and so on. Because she's using that infrastructure that is available to her through a Windows 10 platform.
And it's interesting you say individuals, because ultimately that's what this is about, isn't it? It's about the laptops that people are using.
It's encouraging individual productivity.
And so talking about particularly the improvements you've seen in hardware in the past 3 or 4 years, what would you draw attention to?
Oh, well, I mean, we've covered the majority of them off. I mean, Robert mentioned it earlier, battery life. You know, modern PCs, we've gone from moving to SSD drives as well, which, you know, increases productivity for the individual, but also it increases that battery life, meaning that you now have PCs that can last a full day, whereas 4 years ago you don't have that. Yeah, you can have over a day's worth of battery life. Again, going to the mobile workers, you've got thinner, lighter PCs. You know, the PCs that we now use today, you don't even realise they're in your bag. They're so light. You know, it's all about increasing that mobile element within the hardware as well.
Yeah,
I would say.
And I think we're also gradually moving to USB-C as well, aren't we?
We are, yes, very much so.
And because that will actually, talk about infrastructure, that will affect the infrastructure of the businesses that we go into. Those companies, that when you go and hot desk at a different place, they will have a USB charging slot for you to keep your battery going if it does start to run out.
Yeah, so I mean, USB-C's, the growth in the UK is massive. You know, a lot of companies are moving away from having 100% occupancy down to like 50, 40, even 30% occupancy. So hot desking is a massive thing for companies to, you know, save money, and USB-C is a main driver for that as well.
And have we seen ways that Windows 10 can actually improve people's productivity?
For sure. So first of all, the migration or the move from 7 to 10 from the end user is not so dramatic, because we make sure the user interface was similar to Windows 7. So you still have the start button, similar experience. Now we integrate application that before Windows 7 wasn't there. But the move we did really to make the shift from a usability point of view much easier from the end customer. And the tool that we are developing, also third-party development, really bring productivity so up. And actually statistics say that at the end of the year, because you use a new platform, you can save up to €1,000 worth of time of your employee, because the fact that PC are more powerful, the battery lasts longer, they boot up in no time, shut down again, it's just one click like the phone. Really, you save a lot of time, and the fact that you can have multitasking, running multiple applications at the same time, and we're not talking 1 or 2, we can run 5, 6 applications at the same time without any impact on the performance, makes really the productivity. You can do more things with a limited time. So this is why it's so fundamental. We really believe that is important. So
yes, we've moved away from that spinning clock, haven't we?
No,
I can't actually remember the last time I saw anything like that.
What I have to say here is
what
the key fundamental is the change from HDD to SSD. This has been the major impact on this. So now, if you need to order a new PC, before think about HDD solution, think twice because SSD does much better, much better.
So that switch from mechanical, slow, sluggish, and often weighty hard disks to SSDs, and the other improvement again is reliability of the pieces of hardware. I don't know if we have stats to back that up, but I imagine the new hardware compared to 5 years ago is going to be more attuned to life on the move.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the SSD is a major part to that. It's not, it's a hard drive. It has no moving parts, so it has you have the ability to, it's a bit more reliable than it was before on a HDD. I mean, all HP laptops are something we call mil-spec tested, which is passed. So they go through tests like a high and low temperature test. Something which is infamous is the drop test. So if it falls off of a table, then it should be able to still work. And it kind of forms the whole security story that HP has. Not only are you protected within the BIOS, within the OS as well, but also outside of that, because the casing should be strong enough and durable enough to be able to deal with the rigors of life on a daily basis.
Yeah, and Robert, I can hear you agreeing in the background.
Absolutely. We've seen things like the chip counts on motherboards going down regularly, generation by generation. We've seen the efficiencies of the chips going up generation by generation. The power supplies are getting smoother, more robust.
Smaller as well.
And smaller.
Yeah.
There's an incremental process. Every industry goes through these step changes as they mature. This is the IT sector, the hardware sector, and the software sector maturing into a stable, solid foundation. And I speak to this as an engineer, not just as an IT person.
But what some people are trying to do is they're trying to still run their legacy apps on the old hardware.
Yeah.
What problems do you see from that?
This speaks to something Christian said just now about things just working and getting, we're no longer seeing the spinning clock or the spinning egg timer. Classic example, one of the commonest, best known graphics products comes from Adobe. I'm not going to mention a particular name, but if you're running anything but the last 2 generations of that software on modern hardware, modern operating system, you will see problems. I know, and I can speak to this with very direct experience because my wife is a graphic artist who works with it.
Yes.
And I have to support her.
And so, but then that's actually, in a nutshell, exactly the problem that all these companies are having.
Yes.
Because they're sticking with old hardware. So what do you say to those companies when they say, I really desperately want to keep running product X?
You can keep running it. There is that option. But this is very much cutting off your nose to spite your face. It is better to invest time in training yourself to use the new version and benefit from it. One of the side examples that we can come to this is this. Graphics processors in the last 5 years have changed out of all recognition. If you were used to the graphics of 5 or 6 or even 7 years ago, you have no idea what modern graphics looks like. And most of the software that has been updated in the last 5 to 7 years, be it CAD/CAM, graphics, or anything else, whether it's from Corel, Adobe, AutoCAD, it doesn't matter. They have been rewritten to use the GPUs properly. They didn't do that in the past, and as a consequence, if you try to run the old versions of the software on the new hardware, you will be hitting the CPU of your system excessively, really excessively.
So that's a clear argument for migration rather than keeping old hardware there. But Mike, again, I'm speaking on behalf of people sitting out there cynically saying, oh yeah, you just say like you want to sell more PCs. How can HP actually help customers migrate from Windows 7 to Windows 10 without disrupting their business?
So, I mean, at the top when we started, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. You know, our technical consultants are actually going in there trying to, I don't really like the term, but we're trying to handhold customers just to make sure that they're safe and comfortable with that. We also have the trade-in programs for mid-market customers, but we've integrated with Microsoft something into our MIK, so our manageable integration kit, something that Microsoft do called the CSSM. So when they actually start to integrate that Windows 10, they can actually pull down everything that they have from their device using the kit to actually see it through properly.
Well, that's brilliant, because that ties in with one of the questions that we've got from people listening, watching. So one question is, what resources are available for MSPs, managed service providers, to help clients understand the importance of migration? I'll open that to both of you.
So a couple of things. So Microsoft understand that you may see challenges with the migration to Windows 10. So what we said is 99% of applications running on Windows 7 run on Windows 10. So this is a good start. So we have a website that is called readyforwindows.com, which I'd suggest you to go and have a look. And where you can type the name of the application and will tell you if that application works on Windows 10 or not. So if you already have a list of legacy applications that you are concerned not ready for Windows 10, go to the website, completely free, and they will tell you which version is supported on Windows 10. And ultimately, there might be some applications that are legacy built 15 years ago, even more, probably still running on your PC. So 2 points here is security. So this application probably are the weak part in your security infrastructure. So that can be the first to exploit vulnerability. So it's a risk that you keep in the company, continue using this application. And if for any reason, because you don't have the source code of this application, you can always move to a virtualized environment and access through a Windows 10 client into a virtual infrastructure running Windows 7, which is still an option, will be always an option. So you have opportunity to move to Windows 10. So go back, have a look at Ready for Windows. There will be all the list of applications on this. On the other side, of course, Microsoft leverages the power of the cloud many times everywhere we can. And of course, we have Windows Analytics. We have tools that run on SCCM, they can run on the cloud, they can run in your premises, as I said, and they can do due diligence on the readiness of your machine to move to Windows 10 and the readiness of your application to move to Windows 10. So we have a solution, and HP actually have another one extremely compelling that help you to assess if application and machine are ready to move to Windows 10. So solutions are out there. We are here to support and get to the link, and with HP, but also Microsoft directly, we can help there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what Christian has said is kind of the same for HP. You know, the CSSM is integrated within there's a lot of acronyms, but within the MIK, which is, as I mentioned before, is a manageability kit to help with that transition. But the other thing that we bring is people. So, you know, our end user account managers, they're trained on this type of thing. So please get in touch with them and please talk to them. Our channel partners, you know, if they don't know the answer, then not a lot of people will, because they have to deal with it every day. But we're there to support our channel partners as well. So we are there with a raft of people, technical consultants as well, so we can help in any way we can.
And some people are going to be scared. No, that's one reason why people don't do anything. But I think you were saying a quarter of companies have already done this migration process?
Yeah, so right now there are 700 million PC running every month Windows 10. So feedback we receive from consumer and commercial are extremely positive. And from a commercial point of view, we have at least a fourth of the organization that already at the point where deployment is coming through the normal hardware upgrade. So it's the tipping point is we see between 15 to 20%. Once you have this number of PC already running Windows 10, you're already at the tipping point where then Windows 10 is in your organization. While you refresh the hardware, you bring Windows 10 straight away. Of course, getting there is a challenge. Small organization can face different challenges than large organization. But as I said, we have direct support for the large customer with HP, and then for the mid-market and SMB customer as well, there are resources that are available that are more on a consumer online more than, of course, a physical present from Microsoft. But there are plenty of resources to get to the point that will be the transition coming quite naturally.
Yes, and just coming back to your point about people, Robert, I mean, that's often underestimated, that issue.
It's hugely underestimated. People sit in their office, corner office, as Madison Avenue would have you believe it, managing things, and they forget about the people who work for them. And often these are the people who know best what needs to be done. So not only are they seeking to impose from top down on the organization, but they're also ignoring one of their greatest resources, because those staff that you're going to do things to often know better than you do how to do it.
Yes.
Ask them, involve them, get them involved early. The sooner you involve them in the planning process, the easier the thing becomes.
So even now, we're talking 13 months away until support ends. So
Yeah.
you would actually say to people right now, get those, create your focus group almost.
Yeah, absolutely. By department, by job function, by service function, whatever you want to organize it by, it doesn't matter, but ask what they want to achieve. Because sometimes it's subtle misalignments between the company culture and the individuals on the ground that show where you can improve. If you have the wit and the skill and the intelligence to listen to what you're hearing from your staff, you will improve, you will benefit. This is your opportunity to actually re-engineer your business, to do it well.
Well, that's great. And actually, part of that is there's a danger that people wait too long and then suddenly they have to migrate everything, but everything at the same time.
Yes.
So, which is, I'm sure we'd all argue against a full-on, switch from Windows 7 to Windows 10.
Big bang is always dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why, HP and Microsoft, we've been talking to customers about it for what? Seems like years, at least 2 years now. We've been talking to, especially the bigger, the massive corporate companies. We've been talking to those, but also the smaller companies that, they use one legacy app that they've been using for 10 or 11 years, So we've been trying to talk to those customers to try and help them through that transition as easily as possible.
Anything to add to that, Christian?
No, as I said, there are plenty of support that we really want to put behind this. And I will say the migration is not a customer issue, it's an opportunity for all of us to work. There are a great system integrator out there as well that do this, like Robert, services. So get in touch, you will get for sure people willing to support. And the things is really matter, and just looking at one of the questions that is out there is fundamental that it's not an IT issue. So this is an opportunity, as Robert and yourself were saying, is to transform the company. Actually, today, hiring a new talent is also their decision of generation. The new generation is also based on the tool the company provide, and actually providing all machine running an OS they never even used. That will makes off from any very interesting opportunity to join this organization. So there are really plenty of good reasons. The productivity that Windows 10 deliver as well is incredible. And last but not least, the security component. So security is not an IT issue, it's a CIO concern. Everyone is threat about this. So it shouldn't be a matter of money, because once the IP of the organization is being compromised, then it's a lot of money to go and repair. So what we enable with Windows 10 and the HP PC is really bring the security at the endpoint to the next level. It doesn't guarantee that you won't have any attack, but for sure it will protect much more than a current Windows 7 infrastructure.
And the other side of that is presumably those companies that are sticking an older Windows 7 hardware are the ones that will be more vulnerable to attacks.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, Windows 7 is secure because it's supported. After January 14, 2020, will no longer secure. So this is why it's important to build a path in the next 13 months.
Okay.
There's an infrastructure element to that which goes parallel to what Christian is just saying. Windows 7, not by and large, those who are in smaller and medium-sized businesses will have or have heard of network-attached storage. Much of the network-attached storage that was put in place at or about the time that Windows 7 came into place was running SMB1. SMB1 is massively vulnerable. It's how WannaCry spread. It's what brought the NHS crashing down last year. If you're still using NAS systems with SMB1, you're an idiot.
What are you
Sorry.
Yes.
Right? We have smiles all around here. So, this option goes away with Windows 10. We've moved. SMB1 is no longer an option, and older NAS devices won't function because there's a security issue.
Yes.
So we're upping the game, we're lifting the bar, we're making the thresholds for vulnerability higher. It becomes more and more difficult to compromise your infrastructure, your data, etc.
Okay, that's great. Well, we've reached the, I'm going to ask each of you for one final takeaway at the end of this session, but first of all, I just want to run through the questions that have come through from people viewing this webinar. So one is, what particular advice do you have for educational establishments that are running older PCs with limited IT budgets, where the age of the processors in the majority of the PCs may potentially be not on the list of Windows 10 accepted processors?
So I can take that one. So there's a platform that HP run. It's called HPFE, and it is run with Microsoft as well. And it's a basic trade-up program. And it starts off, you trade your PCs in and you get a discount on a new PC. That's actually evolved over time, and we now work with third-party companies to offer services as well on top of that. So things like extra e-learning discounts and things like that. And that could actually help in the education space as well. So both of us and Microsoft are working through that. I mean, I would ask all the education guys that, you know, it's going to be, the new iteration will be in bet this year. So please come to our stand, the HP stand, and you can learn a lot more about that. That migration for Windows 7, but also the way that we're implementing and giving back to schools by using that platform.
Okay, and so anything you'd add?
Yeah, it's true. So there is the latest of a machine that probably will not be able to release or receive the latest version of Windows. And the reason being is because this machine probably are between 6 to 8 years old. So it's natural with the evolution of the technology, we were not able to support all of this, because supporting that probably may leave open vulnerability to the platform itself. So we need to be quite strict on this. And actually, we are building with HP a lot of good program to help customer trade in old machine and move into new one. Education is definitely, actually for us, education is actually how we, Microsoft and HP together, can help the school to leverage the most of the technology, and also to improve the children learning on this fantastic new skill that will be required for the school of the future. So definitely there are a lot of investment there, and again, here to support you through our channel partner as well, which we know are very, very advanced with engagement on education space.
All right. That's great. And just moving away from the vertical of education, someone's come in with a very, very simple question. I'm sure this will be easy. So I'll open this up to all three of you. Are you able to advise a simple 5-step plan for a smooth transition for SMEs? Robert, do you want to give the first step of that plan?
No. Very simple. There's no such thing. Every single business is different, and you have to tailor it to the business. So,
okay, in that case, the first step will be to look at your business and pick a partner.
Partner is important, but it's a second step. The first step you need to know is what it is that you're actually dealing with. Asset analysis, asset management, measure what you've got.
Yeah.
Know what you've got.
I would stay within that first step is also, it is the planning stage. So you're also looking at where your company wants to go. You know, if you've got a company that's primarily desktop based, but actually you're moving into that mobile workforce, you know, you may want to be looking at the migration of your devices away from one to another.
Yeah.
So that'd definitely be the first step. I think the second step, as you said, is to work with the right partners.
Yeah, that's what Tim said, actually.
Yeah, what you said, Tim, is to work with the right partners. And then step 3 is to actually engage with those, your end user account managers, Microsoft, HP, and to make sure that, you know, you're all on the same page of what you need to do and technically what's required for that business.
And that goes also beyond just the Microsoft assets. All of your software assets need to be able to migrate, and sometimes planning a migration of vertical market software, you guys will know, that can take 18 months, 2 years to migrate something across. If it was written 10 years ago, that's a slow process.
Yes, you may not even own the code. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you know,
what I will suggest is definitely start a pilot across your organization. So pick individual from each team, from HR, marketing, sales, operation, and start deploying some PC running Windows 10 and get feedback. So it's not, the benefit is at the end of the migration, but the customer will start using. We can give you straight away invaluable feedback in, I don't have any problem, or this application keep crashing. So these are the feedback that an IT manager need to know, because hearing that there are no problem probably is because if the phone of the IT manager doesn't ring up, means there is no issue. If there is an issue, probably you will hear very straight and forward. So, and probably you are able to isolate this issue specifically, and probably go back to the ISV that developed this specific application and find a mitigation plan for this. This will be probably the best way. So start rolling out very small pilot across your organization. Just don't focus on IT only, because you will not incur the real scenario of usage. So use a pilot across the organization, get feedback, and expand. Once you are confident that specific release of Windows is okay, then you can bring this release to a wider audience and getting more feedback. And this is the process that will need to continue running later.
And you can use that as evangelists.
Absolutely. You train them, and then will be the advocacy of the new feature, how they work with leveraging new technology within the other employee. And
do you think that's just as applicable to the SMEs, to the 250-seat business, as it is to a 10,000-seat business?
For sure, it is the approach that we see company adopting from large to small. Of course, the small one are also the one that probably is 5, 10 seat company that face different type of challenge. But the 250, they should definitely have, because they have clear HR, marketing, sales department within the company, so they should be able to enable this type of pilot.
Okay, and so we've done our pilot. What's our final step or 2 steps? What do the panel think? Training we've talked about, Robert?
We have talked about it, but we've skipped it. The more comfortable the staff feel, the more involved they are in essentially making this happen for themselves rather than having it done to them, the smoother, the more productive, the faster things will happen. It's that simple. Give your staff the resources they need, but more importantly, that they ask for, that they want. Don't force it on them. Make sure that they feel empowered to ask for.
Great. Okay, I'm not sure whether we've quite fulfilled the simple 5-step brief, but hopefully we've covered a few key pointers there. If there's anything that you want to add to that step plan?
I think just to be able to give you a quick 5-step, it's as you can tell, we've got 4 people on the panel that have got 4 different ideas on how to do it. But you know, it's always the key thing. It's always planning. Make sure your budget's right. I would say that's a key thing for us. The pilot stage is vital, and I mean, as Robert's the one that's more on the cold face of it compared to us, and he's seeing that the staff training needs are there. So when you're piloting, make sure the staff are trained. And then implementation, ask more of your account managers of Microsoft, of HP, or whoever you use. Ask more of them and make sure that it's right for you and your company.
Okay, that's
the
great.
The training thing I would say is this. There's not a huge difference between Windows 7 and Windows 10, and indeed between the equivalent versions of Office then and now. This is mostly about fear factor. Making your staff feel comfortable, happy, assured that things aren't going to go dreadfully, horribly, catastrophically wrong for them if they press this button instead of that button. It's a comfort factor. Nurture them.
Yeah.
Bring them along with you rather than dragging them behind you.
That's great, thank you. All right, a simpler question now. Will a recording of this session be made available? That's a yes. What would be the 3 main reasons for convincing my finance director to invest in this upgrade?
So one major reason is prevention is cheaper than actually having to deal with a cyber attack. The investment in the infrastructure going from Windows 7 to Windows 10, the security stack is vast compared in between. You know, if you don't invest in that now and you get hit by a cyber attack and you haven't got the right infrastructure, you're talking about 5 or 6 times the amount that you are if you actually budget correctly and implement correctly. So I'd say that's probably the number 1 thing for me. I mean, I don't know if you've got anything more to add.
No, absolutely.
But because we talked about the end-to-end security that Windows offers now, and that's the other difference, or the biggest improvement, or big improvement perhaps.
Yeah, and the leveraging the cloud technology is what makes actually scaling and be able to be more proactive. Because to be honest, past statistics show that 200 days is the time between the first breach in the organization happen and when the organization itself detects. So if you are able to have a tool that enable you to detect as soon as this happens, you are going to be very different position. So going back to your 3-step, for sure, plan in advance and investing now more than dealing with security breach later is definitely the first one to consider.
Right, that's great. Now we've got time for one more question.
I want to answer this one because it's important. With all due respect, gentlemen, you've answered the CIO, not the CFO. For the CFO, reduced OPEX, improved opportunity cost, improved productivity. That's it.
And how can you boil those into figures though? Because it can seem a bit vague.
The operating costs will go down, sometimes by as much as 50%. Things like electricity consumption goes down, desk space utilization goes down, as in the amount of square footage that you need. You mentioned this, Mike, earlier.
Yes, definitely.
Things like that go down. You have better opportunities to improve the business in all sorts of ways. So there's lots and lots of opportunities there. And productivity, once your staff have acclimatized and adjusted, the productivity goes up because the ecology, the wider ecology of Office 365, OneDrive, etc., Teams, Dynamics, etc., starts to improve the way the business can profit.
And actually, just to build on that, because I think there are figures that we can actually talk about there to actually show that, again, rather than making it a vague promise.
Yeah, Microsoft has plenty of data on this.
Yeah, so I mentioned one before. So the cost of improving productivity, it is up to £1,000 a year. And actually, the cost as well to maintain an old PC is very substantial, because remember that a PC is not just consuming more battery, but you need to change also the battery. Cost of battery today is very expensive. The older the PC, the price goes up. So actually moving to a new PC, you see from increasing productivity and reducing one of these operational costs you were just mentioning as well.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to squeeze in one more question before I turn to each of you for your key takeaways. Too many organizations are failing to keep some things up to date. For example, a company that I support was trying to use an app that required SMB v1, as mentioned. What procedures are in place for compatibility checking?
So, as I mentioned, Ready for Windows is our website where all the applications are listed there, and they give you a good reference. And because the more applications are moving to Windows 10, the more actually we learn from our telemetry. So this data is not static data, actually get updated very regularly. We get a lot of insight. And actually, with the big ISV, most of the time we share this feedback on crashes of the application in order for them to go and fix it. Of course, this means the customer is in the path to Windows 10 already. So this is the fundamental start of the point. So you need to build your path, see which are the blocking issues. Specific on this case, I'm not sure virtualization can be the answer, but we see most of the customer where I have Windows 7 application or not Windows 7, all the application running Windows 7, they have struggled on Windows 10. They virtualize the application on a server and they access remotely. So this most of the time what's happening.
Okay, that's great.
Virtualization is a wonderful tool that we haven't explored, and we shouldn't, because it's huge.
As I say, that is the end of the questions we can take live, but please feel free to send in more, and we will do our best to answer them. I think we do still have some more, so we will try to contact you with answers to those questions. Let's turn to the takeaways and begin with you, Robert. What's the one thing you would say to someone who is planning to migrate? What do they need to do?
Give yourself time. The more time you can devote to the process of planning and thinking about, and as my colleagues have mentioned, exploring the opportunities that Windows 10 and its ecosystem deliver, the better you will do.
Great, thank you. And so, Christian, what about you?
So, Windows 7 is a great platform. Most of you still love it. What we are saying, Windows 10 is better from a security, productivity, from many points. So it's a journey that we don't force you to go through, but we definitely recommend to start as soon as possible, because we don't want customer still using Windows 7 after this date, because will be unsecure environment. And what I have to say as a final remark, with HP we've done such a great work of collaboration with you. So if you are a large organization customer, come to us, happy to support, put specific support behind you with the migration. If you have an SMB or mid-market, again, through partner, we have a lot of programs to help you for a smooth migration. So Windows 10 should be seen as an opportunity to transform your business, not an obstacle of the technology. Actually, we didn't touch a feature like autopilot, which is something that is futuristic, because we'll enable to deploy a brand new PC without being touched by IT manager. So you ship directly PC to the end customer, and with the click and connection to the internet, everything, the magic is done through the cloud again, because this is the power we have right now, and provision a full machine to the end user with the specific policy you want to enforce to the specific
And that's
PC.
for a remote worker as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's for everyone. So this is what Windows 10 as a platform will enable to do. But before getting there, probably you need to get over this 15-20% adoption in your premises of Windows 10. Once you're there, I'm sure you will love all the features that will come, and you actually will see, going back to the cost point of view, see more benefit. You will be able to be more flexible on the DaaS offering, so buy device as a service, and being able to have more flexibility in your fleet of PC out there. So plenty of good opportunity. Don't be scared. Plan now because the opportunity is now. You have still time. 13 months is a lot. It's not a lot, as you see, but start now. Don't think, oh, after the summer, next year, because then we'll be late. So start now.
Okay, and Mike, final word to you.
So my final remarks would be this. Windows 7 is a very aging OS. Windows 10 is brand new, and it brings a lot of opportunity for companies. It brings opportunities for people to look at their infrastructure, to look at the way that they do business, and to maybe even save some money. And I think in most cases save some money. The one thing that has developed over the last 11 years is the security threat from going through the endpoint. So I would implore all companies to look at that and look at the benefits that Windows 10 and HP devices have together. You know, with Sure Start, the self-healing BIOS, Sure View as a visual hacking deterrent, and for multi-factor authentication as a key part to their business. And just look at how, you know, a service model could save some money as well, like device as a service, or the Windows OS can bring to that their companies.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. So all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching this webinar. I hope you found it useful. We will follow up with answers to questions and any resources that we've mentioned. So finally, thank you very much to the panel.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you.